Hey, 50 years ago this summer, a Hungarian professor of architecture invented a device that ruined my childhood. He didn't know it at the time, and neither did I, but after Christmas morning, 1980, my childhood would never be the same again. It was that year, 6 years after it was invented, that Erno Rubik brought his magic puzzle to America, the Rubik's Cube. It is the most popular toy ever produced. More than 500 million have been sold. It has 6 faces, each a different color. Each face has 9 little cubes. To solve the puzzle, you must get all the colors aligned. All 54 tiny cubes must be in place so that you see only solid colors. That sounds easy enough, and mathematicians concur. Theoretically, the Rubik's Cube can be solved, no matter its configuration, in 20 turns or less. And in practice, the current world speed record confirms this. American Max Park is the current official world record holder, though he and a few others go back and forth on this count. I have a video of him solving the puzzle for you here. 3.134 seconds. That's astounding to me. I cannot get my mind around that because I worked for a year. Beginning that Christmas morning in 1980, and the best I could do was solve 3 sides at once. And when I solved the 3 sides at once, I had been working all night on it. And when I realized I had half solved the conundrum, I was ecstatic. And I burst into my parents' bedroom to show them, not realizing that it was 4:30 in the morning. And they were not as pleased with my accomplishment as I was. And maybe it was their reaction that drained me of my enthusiasm for the puzzle because I gave up after that. I resorted to doing what all my friends were doing with their cubes. I peeled off all the stickers. Anybody? And reapplied them in uniform arrangement. And then I spent another year of my life guarding the damn thing so that nobody in my family would turn it or twist it and I would have to start all over again. 20 turns or less? You've got to be kidding me. Solved in seconds, solved in minutes, not in my lifetime. I lack the patience for it, I guess. I do not have the geometric and mathematical mind for such an exercise. And if I hadn't given up on the thing, I'm certain that I would still be using my spare time twisting and turning that little piece of plastic. I would waste my life attempting to sort out what cannot be sorted. And while others obviously can put it to rest easily enough, I never could. There are just some puzzles that you're not going to solve in your lifetime. We don't have the ability. We don't have the time. These puzzles usually come in the form of a question. Why? Why did one so young, so full of life, have to die so soon? Why did one so giving, so honest and good have to be struck with some crippling disease? Why did the storm have to hit my neighborhood? Why did the bullet have to ricochet into that body? Why do I have to be alone or childless or sick when there are people far more evil than me and they live a charmed life? Don't you think there are far more people evil than you, right? Right? Are y'all the most evil people in the world? I don't think you are. Yes, okay. Why do the wicked prosper while the righteous suffer? To use Job's eternal question. So we twist and we writhe. We lose sleep and years in the process trying to find answers. And the better part of wisdom might be to put the thing down and get on with living the lives that we have left, in spite of these unsolvable puzzles, rather than obsessing over what we can do nothing about, because there's a lot of things you can't do anything about. Death, suffering, perpetual injustice, a silent heaven when you pray, Things like this are common to the human experience. If you are perplexed by these, you are not alone. It is our journey, the journey of faith, to navigate what James Hollis refers to as the swamplands of the soul. And in my experience, one word would capture most of these deep riddles that people struggle with, and that word would be yesterday. That's another world record for you, by the way. Yesterday, written by Paul McCartney, the only song ever recorded by the Beatles where only one of the four played and sang the song. It's the most covered pop song of all time, covered by more artists than any other. It is the second most radio played song of all time, only to be exceeded by You've Lost That Loving Feeling. We really like the melancholy on the radio, apparently, especially when it's over something that has been lost to the past. For every person wrestling with what is happening in their life today, for every person anxious about what might happen tomorrow, there are a dozen people stuck with what happened yesterday. Isn't that where all the whys come from? Isn't it our past that creates all the question marks? Isn't it a maddening Rubik's Cube? Isn't that an accurate metaphor for how most of us live? We take this thing and we work on it over and over and over, returning to it again and again, and we don't get anywhere with it. There is no peel and re-stick solution. Yet we feel that it must be solved. Other people can do it. Why can't we? And our lives become this ballad to what used to be rather than what is. There's this beautiful prose from the book of Isaiah. It's Isaiah 43, verses 18 and 19. But before I read it, a quick note. The prophet Isaiah was a holy man, an advisor to Jewish kings, prolific writer about 700 years before Jesus. At the time, the Assyrian Empire was on the rise as the world's first genuine superpower. And if you were to look at a map today, just look at where so much of the trouble is today. The Assyrians possessed Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, much of Iraq, Turkey, and parts of Iran. They were an unstoppable, consuming force and exceptionally cruel. They set their sights finally on Egypt, Palestine, and for 39 chapters, Isaiah warns his countrymen of the disaster that is coming. They do not listen. In 722 BC, the entire northern half of Israel is obliterated by the Assyrians. But then in chapter 40, the mood, the temperament of the book changes. In its second half, the book is directed at those few exiles who have survived this Holocaust. The prophet doesn't challenge them to change their ways. The trouble had already come and gone. That's in yesterday's book now, and nothing can be done about it. Now he speaks to them to give them hope. And the second half of Isaiah is written to push a group of people out of their past and into their future. The text sums up this hope. Isaiah 43, 18 and 19 from the New International Version. Forget the former thing. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. The Word of God for the people of God. You know, when it comes to making some peace with the past, whether it's something we have suffered or some mistake we have made, we cannot ask the question, why did this happen to me? Because God is asking us the question, do you not perceive it? Can't you see it? I have paved a road through the deadness of your past. What was nothing but a desert and badlands has become a lush, green, productive landscape if you will have it. This is what is waiting ahead of you. But you can't see it. You won't see it if you're always looking over your shoulder at what used to be. You cannot look in both directions at the same time. I remember taking my son Bryce when he was 16 years old for his first driving lesson. I raised 3 sons. I taught them all to drive because Cindy's nerves couldn't take it. And by the third one, my nerves couldn't take it. Bryce was in the middle. This was a little 3-mile journey from the pizza joint to home. Low risk. 1 left turn for the entire route. He did just fine for the first mile. And then, as it would happen, a car got behind him. And he was moving, the new driver that he was with Dad in the front seat, at the speed limit. The car behind him did not want to move at the speed limit, and the car begins aggressively tailgating him. And I said to Bryce, pay no attention to the car behind you. Keep your eyes on the road. Right? And as soon as those words left my mouth, he did this. Talk about frustration in a Rubik's Cube. Not a glance in the mirrors, not a little peep over his shoulder. No, he turned around and looked backwards at the car behind him. Now, is it any wonder why some of us can't keep our lives on track? Is it any wonder why we can't help ourselves from just repeatedly driving into the ditch? Because we are constantly looking out the back window at the past. What else can happen if you're looking at the past and not looking at the road ahead of you? It's going to be a disaster. The road, the future, your life is out in front of you. Do you not perceive this? Can't you see it? Life is always moving forward, and that is where God leads us. God doesn't lead us into our past. God leads us into our future. It's worth noting that everything that we feel about the past, every memory that we conjure up from yesterday, every resentment and question about what happened or what could have been, these are all occurring in this moment, aren't they? We don't have to go back and revisit that. That all just comes along with us. You are experiencing those memories right now, today, not yesterday. There is simply nothing behind you that you can go back to. The past has passed, and even the angst and pain from back there is taking place today. You are bringing it forward so that not only are you giving up your future, you're wasting the one precious day that you have now for every minute that you spend back there. Let me revisit this Rubik's Cube. This is almost impossible to believe, but there are, according to that evil man Erno Rubik himself, 43 quintillion ways to scramble that cube. Now that's 43 followed by 18 zeros. Now, by this logic, if you turn that cube 1 turn every second, it will take you 1,500 trillion years to go through every individual permutation. So I should take comfort, I guess, in that I gave away only 1 year of my life trying to solve that thing. And another guarding it, of course. When you look at it like that, it makes perfect sense to give up on solving some of those things in your past. Because you will spend your whole life doing what a good therapist might call navel gazing. Just looking at yourself, obsessing with yourself, obsessing with your own past, your own pain, your own problems. You become self-absorbed so much so that you have no life to live. It happens all the time. Consider the original recipients of Isaiah's words. I've already mentioned that we can divide the book into 2 halves. It's likely that the original Isaiah wrote the first half, but a second person, possibly using Isaiah's name and status, wrote the second half. Not only because of the theme of the 2 halves, but because of the time that passes between Isaiah 1 and the second half of the book. Almost a century passes over the course of that time, and one person couldn't be alive long enough to do that. And that's not academic trivia. This is why I'm sharing that. It means that multiple generations had lived and died far from home. It means that these words were written to a group of people who had never even lived in the homeland of their ancestors. They were exiles in Syria. They had never worshipped at the temple in Jerusalem. They had never laid eyes on the legendary promised land of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And going further, they weren't to blame for all the bad stuff that had happened in the past, nor were their parents, whoever had caused all this, were long dead. But they were living with the results of it. So they were mourning for a past life that they had never even experienced. There is no way for any of you to go back and build for yourself a better past. You can't do it. It describes so many of us. We carry around our suffering, deep, crippling, emotional suffering from yesterday that was either inflicted upon us or we might have caused it ourselves. Abuse or tragedy in our family of origin, betrayal by unfaithfulness or addiction, backed into a corner where we had to make impossible decisions with no possibility of a good outcome, shoddy business partners, psychotic ex-husbands and wives. Amen, right? The ill-fated timing of a bad economy, inexplicable illness, suffering personally or by suffering by one we love. We feel victimized by what others have done to us, by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, susceptible genetics, or simply the fickle finger of fate. And even when we are suffering from self-inflicted wounds, the result of our own choices that we have made, we got to give ourselves a break. Because you know what? The person, even when it's you that hurt yourself all those years ago, you're not that same person today. You're already on your way away from that. So much water has passed under that bridge that you would look at that person who hurt you, that person being you, and you would feel sorry for them. You wouldn't go back and become them. Every 7 years, your entire body regenerates. Did you know that? Every cell in your body. You see, you haven't been yourself in a long time. If you're my age, there's been about 7 versions of me. And I hope they get a little bit, they're not getting better physically, I can tell you that as I age. But I hope that I'm learning something from my past that you just, look, if you messed up back there, the first person that most of us need to forgive is ourselves. Because God already has. If we can do that, we can get on with the business of life. Can't you see it? Do you not perceive that I am making a road through this wilderness? I'll finish by telling you the story of Flagstaff, not Arizona, but Flagstaff, Maine. A couple pictures for you now and then. The first major military campaign during the Revolutionary War did not take place in what is now the U.S. It was the invasion of British Quebec. 1775, the Continental Army left New England for Canada. They paused in western Maine to make a riverside campsite. They raised a flagpole with the new American colors on it, and that campsite became known as Flagstaff. Shortly thereafter, the campsite became a permanent town. But in 1928, the Maine legislature passed a bill approving the construction of a dam there to produce electricity. This would also produce Flagstaff Lake, 22,000 acres of water that would flood the river valley and flood the village of Flagstaff. This scene was repeated, by the way, all over the United States, particularly in the Tennessee Valley in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. As the power company bought up all the property, a few of Flagstaff's residents dug in. They would not move, nor would they be moved. And meanwhile, everything around them and everyone around them was moving into the future. Families moved out and moved on. All the schools closed. All the businesses locked their doors and relocated. City Hall was disassembled and moved to a hilltop. Churches were yanked from their foundations and moved to higher ground. Roads and infrastructure were given up on. Even the dead were exhumed and reburied in other places. But those who clung to the past resisted what they could do nothing about, and they held on for 20 years. It was 20 years of misery, and it was 20 years of slow dying. Because they just waited them all out till they were gone. Now, how do you want to live your life? Slowly dying because your life is not turned in the direction you hoped it would go? Or getting on with it? Forgiving yourself and letting God open the door to your future?